forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
So, hi Mario, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Nice
How
to
are
meet
you?
Wonderful. So, what questions do we have today?
Yeah, absolutely. So our first question of the day is from Anonymous. They ask, how do you handle requests for borderline or questionable evidence? Do you refuse or guide clients to stronger alternatives?
I think it's a very good question. There is, if any evidence is questionable, we should not be using it. Actually, please understand that any evidence that goes, beyond the statutory requirement, because there is a list what qualifies an evidence in law actually. So if it does not fulfill the evidence law, definitely it cannot be used. Actually, yes, uh, questionable evidence should not be used under any circumstances. That's for sure. Actually, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that,
Pretty straightforward. There is no discussion. There is no debate on this particular matter. So, what's the next question we have?
Yeah, of course. So the next question is from Anonymous as well. They ask, what do you do to ensure that the narrative resonates both emotionally and factually with USCIS adjudicators?
Okay, so next you're talking about ensure narrative resonates with both emotionally and factually. First, there is no emotion in law. Let's be clear about it. We are talking about something that has to be based on pure facts and evidences and based on truth. So something that is not based on facts, you see, please understand that any good adjudicator would have three things to fulfill. The first is uphold the rule of law. That's the first and foremost thing anybody, any judge, any judiciary, or any adjudicator in any pattern, forget USCIS and everywhere in the world, would have to do is to uphold the rule of law. The second is give justice. That's the most important thing. And the third is set a good precedent. Now, these are the three parameters which are very important, and the order is also very important. So, for example, if a true adjudication or true justice is given when there is a rule of law that is being upheld. Number two is justice is being given, and third is precedent is set. When somebody tries to set a precedent first, either getting emotionally or something like this, then definitely it would become something like judicial activism. That's not the way an adjudication process or a justice, principles of justice or principle of jurisprudence would work. The second is if somebody tries to do justice first, that's more important, getting emotional, getting sentimental, and rule of law is not being upheld in that sense, then it creates judicial distortion actually here. So that's not something that is either I think is good for the system, the entire ecosystem for that matter, because then you're picking up. So rule of law getting upheld is far more important. So I think answering your question, this has much more, while the question may have been asked in a more tactical perspective, but it has a deeper resonance with how the entire ecosystem of adjudication and justice works anywhere in the world for that matter, whether it is in common law or American law in that principle actually. So we don't do anything, we just tell people to go with facts and figures, as simple as that. I hope that answers the question and offers clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big takeaway is, we're trying to find the evidence that fits your expertise first and foremost, and that's really what's going to, show that you are that extraordinary personnel. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Syria, what's the next question?
So our next question is from an anonymous. He said, which membership is considered for EB1? Editorial memberships, conference memberships, or societies like IEEE and National Academy of Science, NAS? Do we really need to qualify these criteria?
Well, my answer would be it's not really necessary. This is just one of the, I again go back, which I speak each time at the cost of duplication or triplication. Multiple times I have said, rather a million times, that you fitting into the criteria is not something that is good enough actually. What is really required is, are you demonstrating that you are one of the top in your field of expertise? That's the only thing. Now, for any membership, ideally, I would prefer if something is at a premier level of that membership. The organization, the people who selected you were kind of who had set up standards in your field of expertise. And becoming a member is one part of the whole story. But I think the whole narrative is based on the premises that what did you do after becoming a member? What did you achieve? I mean, if you weren't a member, so you did some judging, you did some events with them, you did some journal publication. Does that speak? What does it speak about your expertise, essentially? These are things which I guess most people miss out. They just feel that, oh, the membership, the very act of undertaking that initiative is good enough. But it is, truly speaking, it is not the case. You need to really go a little deeper into that, actually, and kind of what has been the achievement in that particular case is more important. I would not just like to, whether it is IEEE, we have seen that people with some degree of expertise, here what is happening is you are trying to fit into the criteria, which is not the right approach also, actually. So you don't have to really qualify for this criteria. I mean, everybody may not have memberships, but if you have membership, demonstrate what did you achieve and how was the selection process conducted and who selected you and what was the process. So I think that would be the best way to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So our next question from Anonymous is, what role does your legal review play in final petition approval before submission?
Well, I think this question has a lot of deeper connotation. Next League is also an ABA structure approved by Supreme Court. Now, what happens is that if somebody has gone through the program, our legal team may like to take up the case, and you may also like to work. So there are three options that happens. You may work with your company lawyer, and we still would be happy to support you in all possible way. You may have some external lawyer if you want some lawyers to be specifically assigned who could potentially be your best advocate. We'll be happy to help you for that also. So that's the second one. And third is that if you want Next League to be your petitioner, then it's a totally different engagement wherein our legal team would be assessing your profile and would do that. So those are two different divisions altogether, a coaching division and a legal services division. Those are completely independent and they have to be looked at totally independent. While this discussion that we are having is related more for educational purpose, you see the scroll going down, that it's more from a coaching perspective, but for legal perspective, we can't give legal advice on the board, or neither I am an attorney, or so I would not like to qualify myself either to speak on a specific legal case, while a general legal information can be given for everybody who is in the coaching program. But somebody filing, yes, our attorney would look at it actually. So that would be my response to this question. Yeah. What's next?
So next we have, how do you integrate letters of recommendation into the overall petition narrative for seamless flow?
You see, the very act of, if you look at the USCIS, I mean, from a USCIS perspective, any recommendation letter form a cornerstone of an evidence. The first is that you have certain evidences to prove your distinguished, or you talk about extraordinary ability. Then somebody would need certain metrics. Let's say, for example, you're talking about a critical role. You work with a company, for the namesake, let's take Amazon. Now, you did certain work in Amazon and you will have to prove it. Now, how do you prove it? Is because by virtue of certain documentation that you will have to prove, your manager, your company will have to vouch for you actually here, that you did certain work and you possess certain level of skill sets and knowledge and wisdom to undertake those activities. Now, once you get that, there is an overall narrative that will have to get built up and that will get formed into it. So certain quotes can be highlighted that speaks about specific metrics. That will be good for you. Actually, that's the way it is. It's a very difficult question to answer in one sitting. It's like there are people who have gotten 8 to 10 letters to, even we had one particular case who had 65 letters also actually. So, I mean, how to put it, what is the relevance of that for each one of them into the petition is a different ball game altogether. Yeah. So that's what I would like to say at the moment. Now, what's next?
Absolutely. So our next question is from Anonymous. They ask, what criteria do you use to decide whether a testimonial, award, or citation makes the final evidence package?
Well, I think there are three elements to it. The whole thing is any evidence for that matter. This is applicable to every piece of evidence, whether it is credible. That's the first definition. That the credibility of the document has to be well established. It's not something that, is from, like, for example, a letter from your relative or something will not make any sense. Somebody known to you would not make any sense, actually, just because somebody is related to you in any manner. So it has to be credible. Second is it has to be relevant. I mean, we had a case where one lady actually wanted to. She was a dancer. Actually, she had done some dance classes and some Bharatnatyam, something she had done. And she said, "Oh, can I put that in my, petition?" That has no relevance. It may be credible, but it is not relevant. And that's so. First is credible. Second is relevant, and the third and most important thing is that it should have a probative value. Probative value means that it has some degree of assessment when it is done. It adds some kind of a enhancement of probability to the overall petition. So if normally sometimes it is assessed by virtue of if it has been done by an independent professional or somebody is a manager wherever is relevant, not done by relative, it has qualitative and quantitative success metrics about you and your expertise and about your success, then it makes a lot of sense. Actually, I would say that. So if it is related to that, then I think it would be wonderful actually. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward here. So I just, at the cost of just duplication, I will just repeat what I'm saying. Number one, it has to be, credible. Second, it has to be relevant. And third, it has to be probative. Then I think the decision is there whether any piece of evidence for that matter can be utilized for your EB1A petition or not. Okay, next.
Absolutely. So the next question says, how do you quantify contributions like patents or software in a way that demonstrates major significance?
Okay, then the question is that how you define the success of a particular patent, or for that matter, any software or any framework that you have created. Has somebody used it? How many companies used it? What was the impact of what was before it was being done, and what was after it was done? What problem did your patent solve by very nature of it being conducted actually? So these are, I think that is the best way. Significance, and another important aspect that I think is missing in the question is that significance is not to the company, significance is to the field of your expertise. Most people in the original contribution criteria, I think I've studied over 1,000 cases after having met over at least 100 plus EB1 achievers, 50 are from our own program approximately. So I think one of the biggest things is that major significance is about significance to the field, not to the significance to the company or your employer at all actually. So that's what I would like to say that. What's next?
Absolutely. I think this next question is going to be kind of similar to the one previous. They ask, what framework do you use to prioritize which criteria to build first versus later?
I think it's $1 million question, actually. I think it's a very good question also. What happens is that, normally one need not go through the order of precedence of the regulatory criteria. Something, again, I go back to my previous response, something which is more credible, relevant, and probative value. So any piece of evidence or any criteria which has the highest probative value would put the first actually. Is as simple as that. So something which has you have more recommendation letters, more strong, more impact. So for example, if you have done an original contribution, a patent that has resulted in over, I'm just making this up, $300 million for your company. So definitely that original contribution will be placed first. You wrote a research paper that got published in Nature. Definitely then that would be, so something which is more relevant, credible, and which has the highest probative value will be coming first actually.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's take the last question first. I think we have two questions. Let's try to take both of them. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you guys here at the Next Week uncover hidden strengths in a candidate's background that might not be obvious at first glance?
Okay, uncover hidden strengths. You see, let's understand one thing. We have seen people who have followed and trusted the process in the Next League program, whether they are 26 or 28-year-old or 30-year-old or 50-year-olds, we have got it. We really can't, I think, mind you guys, we can't judge anybody. We are not sitting here in a judgmental box to judge your credibility. We can only assess you based on the possibility of you committing to the process of becoming EB1A. Let's be clear. So I repeat, it's a process. We can assess your process. We can assess only your commitment to assess. To kind of go for your EB1A process actually. So here we do it by three things. Number one is, are you a professional? What does professional mean? How you come on the call? Are you coming on a Zoom call? Are you coming on your phone? How you present yourself? That's something is very important. We want to have a proper assessment of each other. So that's the one thing that we would see. Second is, are you ready to commit 10 to 15 hours per week? We always insist people to do that. if somebody has been doing it. So it's good. If you cannot, we try to find out a reason and what is more important and relevant to you. And the third and most important thing is that, are you coachable? Now, when you say coachable, there are again a function of three things. The first is that have you come prepared going through certain materials about preparation for EB1A? If not, are you ready to unlearn things actually? That's the most important thing. And how are you decisive in your decision making and incisive in your actions? So we kind of would broadly be able to assess somebody. It's like this, Mario and Syria. If somebody wants to become a defense officer, you go for a entrance examination, you go for a training course, or you want to become a civil servant, you go for certain degrees. You cannot find out whether a person will be a good engineer or a good doctor or a good at the time of your entrance of getting into a medical school or civil servant or a defense officer. We only see the process. Can you be committed to the process? So our job is only to assess you whether you can be committed to that process, and that's what we do. We are not in a position to check your background, because another thing that we have seen that out of all our 47 EB1A achievers, at least 40 plus people would have done a lot of initiatives, 90% of the things which after they joining the program. Whatever you have achieved, whether you have a 5 years experience, at least we take people with a minimum 5 years experience. If you have been able to, kind of commit yourself, and what has been your success metrics otherwise they form a strong foundation. Once they form a strong foundation, that helps us to kind of push you to the higher limit. And that's what, remember one thing, that this particular entire Next League program is not about just you getting EB1A. It's about you becoming the best version of yourself, where EB1A becomes a milestone for you. So we have seen people who are 26-year-old, 28-year-old, the time duration could be a little longer, but people who have trusted the process and followed the process have all become EB1A achievers. We have a success rate of 97.5% and everything like that. So that's all we'd like to say that. Let's take the next question.
Absolutely. So this next question is from Anonymous. They ask, what contingency plans do you put in place if the USCIS issues a notice of intent to deny?
You see, we don't put any contingency plan, because we try to make sure that all people who have apply for EB1A, but there could be potentially some technical issues by which some document could have been left out. Say 2023 November, 2023 November 22 or 2024 November W2 is missing. Something like that could come up. If it is related to that, then I think it's you and your attorney has to do it. As I mentioned to you that we don't offer legal services. Legal services are through different division. It's between you and your attorney how you present your petition actually. But having said this, I've already mentioned that people who have followed the process in coaching, people who have done everything what is required to be done, our success rate has been 97.5%. And there is always some element that something could miss out, but we try to make sure that things don't happen. If there is something that has happened, we'll definitely try to help you depending on the circumstances and situation and why it has happened, rather than just doing a mere postmortem of that actually. But we have seen that fortunately, we haven't come across a situation. Even the audit report that was presented to Supreme Court always says that, is saying that we have, all the people who followed the process have achieved their EB1A actually. And let's take the last question now.
Absolutely. So it says, hello team. If my EB1A I-140 is approved in 2025 and I move out of the US in 2 years and come back after 5 or 7 years or even more, whenever my PD is current, will I still be able to file the I-485? I'm currently on L1B, expiring in 2 years. I was not big on H1B. I'm not sure if that works for the next 2 attempts. I understand that I need to have a visa like H1B to come back.
It's a super technical and specific legal question. I would strongly suggest that you consult an attorney on this particular matter. But yes, the answer prima facie for any other person who's not current, you can actually, even you don't have to come back to apply for green card. You can be in India and do that also. There are a lot of ifs and buts here in this particular question. So I would not like to qualify myself to respond to this in a more granular way. I suggest you take a legal advice on this. So that's all I have, friends. So if there are any questions or something, reach out to Mario and I, and you can come here and ask your question yourself also. If you want to join the Next League program, we'll be happy to kind of help you. Reach out to Mario and Syria and I. The link will be given below. So wish you all the best and happy Saturday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey to